2 sets down and 1 more to go here in the SMITE Pro League on day number 3 on this lovely Sunday in Phase 3 Week 2, and brought to us by our good friends over at Prime Gaming. If you don't already have an Amazon Prime subscription, pick that up so you can get free shipping, free music, free movies, and all kinds more from them. Link that over to your Twitch account to get Prime Gaming so that you can get free content and free DLC for games that you're probably already playing. More free games that you may not have gotten a chance to play. There were some really good ones last month, and I'm sure some really great ones as well this month. And then a free Twitch Prime subscription to your favorite streamers out there. So make sure you can get all of this great free content and more by getting a Prime membership and linking that over for Prime Gaming. Thanks so much for Prime for being the title sponsor of Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. I'm J Mac Tucker. I got Hurrywin joining me on the desk one more time. Hurrywin, this is the last set that we're going to have you on for this weekend. At the very least, maybe we'll get to see Hurrywin more down the road. But what a set that we get to end our weekend on. Tartarus Titans and Jade Dragons. Dragons who just recently lost their undefeated record finally fall after 10 sets. Tartarus Titans on a little bit of a wish-wash right now. Have seen some rise-ups and also a couple of falls by them. We will get to take a look at the schedule, though, to see what you have missed up until this point. I know we're getting pretty late into the evening, but this is our final set of the day. Jade Dragons and Titans. We had a 2-1 for the Leviathans to start it out, a 2-1 for the Camelot Kings over the Oni Warriors that just wrapped up. And now we get to end out week number 2 with the Jade Dragons and the Tartarus Titans. A quick look at the standings will reveal that we no longer have any undefeated teams. Instead, it's the Camelot Kings once again reigning supreme at the top of the standings. 3-1 for them. Oni Warriors with their recent loss drop into second place at 2-1. And now the Jade Dragons and the Titans fighting for that 4th seed spot between themselves. Hurry.
Yeah, no, I mean, after today, we will have 2 teams at number 1, right? So, we will have 2 3-1 teams one way or another. After today, and I think this could really go either way. I mean, the Dragons were looking like a bit of some bozos the other day, but hopefully they'll return to form today. I think the Titans obviously have a great chance at competing today too. I know Cyclone brought out that Ishtar the other day, and that's honestly a pick I'd love to see some more of today too. So hopefully we get to see some new interesting stuff.
Hopefully so, and I think you kind of bring up a good point, or at least maybe we can kind of start talking about with the Jade Dragons, a dominant Game 1 performance against the Oni Warriors yesterday. Game number 2, they kind of do their switch up where they throw their jungler Scream over in the mid lane, throw them on a weird pick like Zeus, let Pagon run the jungle, and the Oni Warriors didn't have much of that one. But one thing that's not really changing up very much as far as things are going is that solo lane for FineOK, and the good news is we've got Goremizer standing by to talk with FineOK for a pregame interview.
That's right, I got FineOK standing right here, man, and I'm really excited for this one just because I think there's going to be a lot of fun. You've been dancing. You feeling pretty good today, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, this is like our 4th or 5th set in a row. We're the last set of the day.
Yeah, so you've just a lot of hurry up and wait.
Yeah, life is passing us by. It's going to be dark by the time we're done, but we're excited to play.
I'm excited to watch you guys play. Now, I know we're going to be playing over like some of your replays and like kind of looking at things here. And I did want to ask you specifically about like your style and how what you consider yourself to be for your team and how that translates into your gameplay.
Win condition.
Win condition? That just 2 words? That simple? Not like facilitator, engage dude, just win condition.
Yeah, I mean, I try and play like all play styles and stuff, kind of make my own meta, if you will. But yeah, I sort of see myself as like the engineer. It's funny we have Tyler on the desk, but I see myself as the engineer, and everyone else is like an architect, right? Like I know the inner workings of why these buildings are the way they are, but maybe the architect's more worried about like how it looks.
They're going to tell you how to build a thing, and you're going to have to sit there and stress over the next 6 hours to figure it out. My sister-in-law's an architect, and we went to engineering school. It's always very fun. I do want to ask, and again, you don't have to get super in-depth on this one just because of what it's going to be, and I kind of expect that. But going from yesterday, a loss against the Warriors into the Titans, what kind of things are you guys like taking from that set you learned and trying to bring into today?
Probably that we shouldn't let our jungler play mid lane. That's probably the main thing. But also, I mean, the Warriors are a really good team in all seriousness, and they deserve to win that. And they brought in like their own little meta that I think it's like kind of a meta that they like to fall back on, which is like the double hunter with pressure in mid. But yeah, like I said, all props to them. They definitely deserve to win that set. And maybe we won't be switching it up again, though.
I am kind of curious, and I throw whatever the last question was out of the window. I'm going to ask you this one instead. There's a lot of looking and maybe trying to dissect that one. Do you contribute that to like it being like Scream in mid versus the Warriors, or do you think it was the Zeus pick, maybe a kind of a combination of both? What do you think was that went wrong there?
Maybe a combination of both, and probably just like kind of bringing something into the SPL that we probably didn't practice enough of, without getting too in depth with it, like the Atlas pick, we actually had a lot of practice on and stuff, and maybe the Zeus pick we didn't. So I think it's partly that, but also just kind of like getting ahead of ourselves and just maybe throwing a non-meta pick on a player that doesn't even play the role is a little.
Well, I'll say it was really fun. Maybe not that game, but the role swap itself, like as a theory, has been very, very fun to watch for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people at home. But hey, man, you got some games to get into, so good luck for that. Thanks for your time. We're going to throw it back to the desk and break this one down.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gore and Final K, for the early game interview there. A little bit of fun to be had at the very beginning. Him seeing kind of himself as like, what do you say, the engineer when he's on the team full of architects more than anything. I saw you kind of shake your head a little bit there, Hurry, at the kind of comment that was made for that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny because Soul Laners, last I checked, were the closest thing we have to the missing link. Those guys, he's not capable, okay? So that's just my hey, listen, no, he's great at his role. Stay in your lane, buddy. Stay in your lane, buddy.
Stay in your lane, says Hurry went to Fine OK, but up against Fine OK, he's going to be going up against Tartarus Titans and SOT, a player who does like to kind of break out of the mold a little bit more so. Fine OK, we've been seeing a lot of very standard solo style of play. You think Fine OK, you're thinking traditional warriors, some guardians. Whenever like Baron and Hades are meta, you'll see him going over there. But SOT kind of just does everything. Hunters, assassins, wars, whatever it is. If SOT is just feeling like playing it that day, it feels like he and his team are able to make it and draft a composition around allowing him to try and flex a little bit more in that lane.
So today, I think we should not be surprised to see some Guan as well. The Titans really love their healers. And Guan is one of our premier healers right now in the meta, and Sot is definitely a Guan player. So I think we should expect to see some Guan from Sot if it is open, if it is not banned away by the Dragons. And I would expect actually to go even further and say that I think we'll probably see Alec on some Cthulhu because he seems to like that matchup as well. Now, I don't know if these teams are going to preemptively ban either of these Soul Laners, but assuming that the teams don't ban these picks or think that they have other things they need to ban away, I would expect to see a lot of that matchup today, J-Mac.
The Tartarus Titans coming off of a win against the Valhalla Valkyries just earlier on in the week. I believe that was just yesterday, SOT. You can kind of see at least he got a chance to play the Guan Yu, and that performance that he was able to have on that one. Wouldn't be surprised if we maybe saw some ban priority taken towards whoever might be in that second pick slot. Even against the Leviathans, whenever the Tartarus Titans were down, they were never completely out. SOT loves playing these big frontline, these in-your-face solid characters whenever the time does call for it. Again, he can play the assassins, he can play the hunters whenever the meta kind of calls for something a little bit wilder. But when it really does bunker down to it, SOT loves these in-your-face solid gods, the ones that can sustain very heavily and really be able to dive onto these carries consistently.
Yeah, he's definitely a player that plays the things that the carries don't like to see in their games. So, for example, that Kamazotz that we saw right there, that is a nightmare for the carries. He definitely knows which characters are going to have a big impact on the game, which characters are going to be problematic for the enemy team. He's definitely a player that's not afraid to continue going back to those picks. He doesn't mind playing the same stuff game after game, and that is always going to make him a high-value, problematic player for the other team.
Oh, where are the Tartarus Titans? Now that the Jade Dragons have finally kind of gotten that little loss under their belt, they had a chance to kind of think back on maybe some of the mistakes they had made during games 2 and 3 of their prior set. We'll see if they correct some of those mistakes here up against the Tartarus Titans. Game at number 1, picks and bans are underway, hot and ready to go. And it'll be the Tartarus Titans on that first pick. So immediately, at least on my mind for the Jade Dragons, might be bans like the Emoja that's been so popularly banned out through Guan Yu, as you were highlighting for the Soul Lane out of SOT. Any other bans that maybe come to mind the Jade Dragons need to take away?
I think they're probably going to stick to some of the more meta bans. I think from second pick, there's a good chance they'll ban Guan. I know we talked about it before. There's a chance they ban something like Kabrakan, which we see just now. Just kind of banning away some of those top guardians. This is what makes first pick so valuable right now. You can afford to go for some of these more, target bans. So, for example, in this case, it's the Hades, the Pele, potentially the Ymir. Whilst the Dragons feel like they're stuck banning the meta picks that they absolutely do not want to let through in the Umoja and I suppose the Kabrakan as well.
So Hades, Pele, and Ymir for the Tartarus Titans. Jade Dragons taking a little bit of time on this final ban. Guan Yu has become one of the popular bans. You can see just in Phase 3 of the SPL so far, sitting in the top 5 of Gods banned away, along with the other ones that have already been taken out, minus the Da Ji. But it will be Kamazotz banned, surprisingly. So the Jade Dragons leaving a lot open. Da Ji out of the jungle, if that's something that maybe Scream would want to go towards since the Pele's been taken away. Guan Yu, if the Titans want to go that way. Even Khepri still available, but it will be a dodgy first pick for the Tartarus Titans.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. This character is strong. She brings a lot to the table. She's a little weak early game. That's probably her one weakness. But she really excels in the late game. She really excels in comps where you can force beads. She also kind of enables a Morgan pick for a lot of people, and Paul's certainly a Morgan player. So it opens up a new pick for their mid laner as well, which I think is just very strong in the draft. The Dragons, I think, were a little bit caught off guard, perhaps, by the bans from the Titans, because they did take a little bit of extra time, and then they banned the Camizots, which I personally didn't expect them to ban. So I think that they were imagining they'd get some sort of trade here that they're not going to be able to get, as it turns out. When it comes to their top picks here, though, I'm not really sure what the Dragons are going to be looking for, J-Mac. It could really be a lot of things. You really never know with these guys.
I think the same can even be said for the Titans, because at one point we're seeing a triple assassins being played by the Titans. The Valkyries are running double assassin of their own, so it seems that all over the league, these teams have these little small dynamics that are starting to develop in these first couple of weeks of play. And I think you were maybe right to discuss the Morgan over anything. Does it kind of feel like maybe the Dragons are almost kind of being pushed into potentially having to pick this one up just because the Dodgy is on the other side? I mean, we have Guan Yu Naja locked in. But do you think the Dragons maybe need to pick that one up if Paul doesn't grab it in this phase?
You know, what's interesting to me, J-Mac, is that in talking about being pushed into picks, I actually feel like the Dragons were pushed into this Guan Yu. I know Alec plays it. I don't know if it's his favorite pick in the world. I feel like they expected the Titans to take it away, perhaps over the Dodgy. In this case, they got forced to take it themselves because they don't want to let them have Dodgy and Guan Yu. Maybe the Dragons do value it that highly. That might be just me just making stuff up, but that's how I read it. They are going to take the Naja, which I think is good for them. I think a lot of other teams have been abandoning this pick lately, so we'll see if they follow suit there. But it can be flexed a lot of different ways when you have a player like Pagan on your team who can play it in mid. Maybe he could play it in jungle and role swap again. Hopefully we don't see any more of that, but there's always a possibility.
Dodgy and Bacchus for the top two of the Tartarus Titans. One more pick available. Will it be for Paul? Will it be for somebody else on the map? Cyclone, we've seen he's willing to go all the way down to a god like Ishtar if need be towards a 10th pick. So instead it will be a pick for Paul, but it will be Vulcan. So not the Morgan that you were maybe thinking to kind of pair alongside with this Dodgy. That gives the Jade Dragons some time to think and maybe some room to breathe. Do you think maybe they pick up a Hunter here and go for a couple of bans in their slot, or is there something maybe specific for the Jade Dragons comp that is currently missing so far that you think they need?
I think they want to hold their flex picks as long as they can, probably J-Max. So I would expect this to be a Hunter or Guardian pick. It is going to be the Guardian pick and the Khepri. For Mike, I think he's definitely strong on this pick. I think it's definitely something that can work for them. They've definitely drafted more of a backline kind of comp so far. So I'm curious to see if that's something they like to play or if that's a play style that they feel like they've been strong on. Personally, when I think of the Dragons, I think they're getting in there, they're making stuff happen quickly, and they can maybe do that on these characters, but they aren't maybe my first choices for that kind of play style. So we'll see kind of how this draft works out for them when they actually get in game, and honestly, we'll know once the draft kind of rounds out a bit more.
As the second wave of bans is underway itself, Artio and Artemis banned by Dragons and Titans respectively. So recognizing that Panda Cat has been enjoying that pick over in the duo lane, Tartarus Titans are going to make him play something a little bit different, though Ho Yi still notably available. Cupid also still up if either teams want to go for it. Surprised that we've gone this far down and not seen any priority thrown towards Cupid. Instead, it'll be a set ban over towards the Tartarus Titans. We know that Paul has been enjoying playing that pick. Cyclone has taken the Vulcan over into the duo lane. Also, could just be something that gets thrown into the solo lane. A lot of flexibility with that god on really any one of these two teams. And as we jump to the Titans' final ban, could still be a Hunter particularly. I mean, I think if you want to go for a meta ban, maybe that Cupid. But instead, it'll be the Morgan, not wanting to give that over to the Dragons.
Yeah, so the issue with Dodgy, and this is kind of rolling it back a bit, is that she really denies a lot of picks in the game just by existing. So, for example, Ho Yi and Cupid, who I would consider to be meta picks, I can just tell you from experience that Panda Cat does not want to pick those characters because he's not going to have natural CC immunity in his kit to be able to deal with that Dodgy ult. He's only going to be relying on his beads. It's going to force him to play a lot more passive than maybe he wants to play. So I think it's probably smart by the Titans to probably just ban, if they're going to ban a Hunter, ban one with CC immunity, that being the Artemis. And then I'm going to guess the Morgan is just kind of a throwaway ban. Kind of take Pagon out of the driver's seat a little bit, force him potentially on a backline mage, which they've done since he is selected Yu Huang.
Yu Huang for the mid lane. Have seen it technically go over to Panda Cat before, earlier on in the year.
True.
That we haven't seen him go towards it as of recent. And now with an Ishtar hover, we'll hold our breath at least for a moment before we go further in depth on the Ishtar discussion, though. Cyclone did have a great performance on it against the Valkyries. Found a nice two-man stun at the very end of the second game to lock down the duo lane, or to lock down the support and the mid during a team fight there. So we got to see some good use out of this god, going more towards a crit style of build, which absolutely has melted through a lot of objectives. But still needing a solo laner for the Tartarus Titans. You were calling for some picks for SOT earlier on.
I wonder if it's the Robin. We've seen some other people going towards the Robin lately. I wonder if that's bled through into this team as well. I'm not exactly sure with the Guan gone, with the Kama gone, with the Ardio gone. I'm not sure what Sot's next priority is here. Robin is my best guess based on what other people went. The Achilles makes sense against Khepri on the other side. We haven't seen much Achilles, even with Khepri on the table, but I think it's an excellent choice, obviously, to always have that ability to execute, a frontliner if the situation does arise. And then the Ishtar does get picked in, which I absolutely love. I think this character is completely underrated. And I think it's great to take it away as well from potentially Panicat if he was looking to consider this pick too, because it has CC immunity in it. So that's really going to limit his god pool more. Panicat is going to go for the Chernobog. He's going to get that global presence. We haven't seen much Chernobog lately. He was on top for a while with the crit build and the Atalanta's build, which has fallen by the wayside now. So we haven't seen him much in a while. I still think he brings a lot to the table. Maybe it'll be hard for the Titans to deal with that sort of global pressure that he'll be bringing. But I think it's kind of interesting now how the Dragons comp has sort of rounded itself out.
And so kind of with this Ishtar, where she's kind of in this weird middle ground mix of good ability damage and good auto attack style of damage. We saw that Cyclone before was kind of building, I think it was like Atalanta, Fail Not, and a Wind Demon or something like that. Had a lot more crit style into the build. Do you think that maybe he goes down a similar path up against the Jade Dragons with that kind of build?
Usually when it comes to Hunter builds, it just has to do with who they're trying to kill. So for me, for example, in this game, I would imagine Cyclone goes for more of a tank shred build. They have the Achilles execute for those tanks if they do get them super low. And I think they'll be working their way, as we say in the business, front to back, aka killing the guys in front first and working your way back. That is probably what I imagine him to go this game. Maybe he thinks Ishtar's only good with that specific build he's come up with. Cyclone always does something a little bit different, and props to him because he makes it work. We'll just have to see what he ends up going for, though.
Now, with the Tartarus Titans, with this style of comp, you have some good initiation from the Bacchus. You've got, as you said, the execute with the Achilles out there. So we kind of got at least maybe a general vibe of the team fight for the Titans. But how does the team fight for the Jade Dragons look? Is this a team that wants to initiate the fight, or is this composition that the Dragons have built more so one that they want to wait for the Titans to bring the fight to them?
If I know the Dragons, they're going to initiate. They don't like it the other way. And to be fair, I don't blame them. I mean, maybe I've been indoctrinated from my year with them. It's very possible, but I think they will be getting in there as often and as early as possible because they do that very well.
Is this a composition that can maybe let the Dragons do that? I mean, we know that Yu Huang's first few levels pretty good. Next set or so of levels, about maybe 8 to 10 levels, not nearly as good. But do you think that this is a comp that can allow the Dragons to play that aggressive style?
Yeah, so I think they're definitely going to have to play through the solo lane, right? They've got a Chernobog who's got a global. You usually want to play away from your global when it comes to the side of the map that you prefer to play on. And the Yu Huang's probably going to want to farm for a little bit. He's up against the Vulcan, so those may match in pressure early game. But if anything, I imagine the Dragons will be playing through the solo side.
We'll see if the Jade Dragons do play through the solo lane. Can they get that early lead that they want against the Tartarus Titans? We'll find out all that and more as we jump into game number 1 with Gormizer and Trelli-Relli.
Well, Dragons and early leads, those two things tend to go hand in hand. Depends on the composition for them most of the time. So, Trelli, we will see whether or not they can get it here. They mentioned playing through solo lane, and specifically with Fine OK on the Guan Yu. And that's maybe something we could look more in depth into. And I'm not going to stop you if you want to. But also I see Pagon on Yu Huang, and that's just, it's so wild how much he can do on that pick. I mean, we're talking about like blind fire ults, pulling people in. I think it was 2 people during Masters at one point that he pulled into a Phoenix and just absolutely bopped them. And so that's a pick that I think has to be looked at. Maybe not for the first few levels, but definitely by the end of the game.
Yeah, definitely one of the scarier picks that Pagon has, which is, even scary saying that because he's got the Susano.
He's got like 30 picks
Morgan.
anyway, yeah.
He's got a lot that he brings. And nice to see that PBM is actually on the polar bear skin. The only one in the game that I could think, the Robin skin also is like a polar bear.
And
but like,
does Ardio not have a polar bear?
I think it's like a white bear, but I don't think technically it's like a polar bear. I wouldn't count it as one, but maybe. It's like
give it a Coca-Cola and see if it drinks it. If it does, it's a polar bear.
It is like an ice skin, so you're right. It is technically a polar bear. PBM tries to go for the invade, but does get the big win in the sense of the hog, and I think that's what he wanted to get down, making sure that Aurora had to use that consumable. So now the next purple buff could be invaded, and also Panda Cat gets that at solo XP.
Yeah, you're going to be able to have Panda Cat hitting 2 relatively soon. This is where clear conversations, I think, get to jump into to this, because Ishtar is someone that I think we've looked at a little bit, right? We saw Cyclone play it yesterday, and we saw Cyclone play it 3 weeks ago during the Leviathans event. Has not really been picked up or touched by anybody else. It's not really in the conversation, I feel like, for what we've been seeing in Hunters lately. And so that compared to what like Chernobog's going to bring, plus the Bacchus versus the Khepri, feels like, and we're seeing it kind of exemplified here, is that Cyclone Spin's just going to control the lane for a little while.
Yeah, I really do like seeing Cyclone play the Ishtar. I just think the team fight presence that Ishtar can bring, as well as the objective shred, is kind of ridiculous, and not everyone's going to be prepared for it.
It was a lot more than I expected.
Yeah, because, you know, she doesn't get played. So because Cyclone's the only one that's whipping this pick out, we know what to expect at the very least once it gets online. Early game, it's gonna get pressure in lane,
yeah.
and that's about it. You know, you still have to play relatively safe. You got to respect the ganks. If Scream does show up, you know, pre-level 5, could be dangerous, but I don't imagine anything like that will happen. Naja really does appreciate the ultimate before diving into a gank like that, and it doesn't seem like either team is stepping up too far in lane just yet.
I should have watched the highlights a little closer. It was a kill that Cyclone Spin got, I believe it was yesterday, while Paul was on Vulcan. And Cyclone got the kill with the dash from Ishtar,
yep.
But he used it to hold someone in place of where the Vulcan was going to go. He just happened to have enough damage that he got it right before it connected. Little moments like that are what I'm going to keep my eyes on. As well as little moments like that, where Scream misses the sash just a little short of being able to grab Solar Ritual with that, get a stun, maybe get something going in the solo lane. And the desk call that's probably where we'll see the Dragons try to play through. And you have to admit, with Ishtar pushing as hard as she is, that's going to be a little bit easier there. Purple buff invade, this time coming out for the Titans. But as you had mentioned earlier, the Hog was saved by Mike. He's going to be able to secure their own buff just to make sure things don't get too out of hand on the left-hand side.
So now the question is, with that HP bar, does Mike feel confident invading the Titans purple buff? I can't imagine. It won't be. It'll go down pretty slow at this pace, and it looks like, you know, Panda Cat going all the way back for the purple, so not going to be the call. So just getting the Hog down is going to be a small enough win in this case, and Aurora did step up to lane just to zone in case that was going to come through. But, you know, at the moment, Layers has been pretty active on the Daji, dashing in, looking for some poke, tried to poke out Pagon early on. And this is a pick that we don't see get through too often, because Daji really does command the map whenever she is allowed to be through. But at the moment, there's a lot of CC immunity I'm seeing throughout the entirety of the Jade Dragons draft, as well as the cleanse from PBM once he takes around to level 5, getting access to Scarab's Blessing, is going to help with a lot of that safety. SOT juking out that stun.
Yeah, he's low, though. Still has to play this carefully. Layers, as you mentioned, getting active on the map, comes in. Onto the powwow, looking for the pull. Onto Scream, pulls both. There's the execute from Sot, and he's going to get a double kill with that one, kicking things off for the Titans, and a great look.
Wow, 23 HP from what we saw, and you got to assume a health pot was ticking during that, so extremely weak. Fine, okay, probably could have dashed, but like was in the middle of the Talu Assault, assumed I'm just going to be able to kill before the execute gets off, and it was not the case. That Warriors Axe in the Tier 1 Sovereignty start really did just pay its weight in gold there. I mean, making sure that SOT gets the double execute off, and that was just superior farming by Layers that sets that all up, right? You get the powwow first, that wave gets cleared a little bit faster, and sets up an easy double kill. Now the Titans are about 1,000 gold up already, and it looks like trying to invade this blue buff as well.
Immediate aggression onto Scream. Stunned out, and it's eating his health bar away. Sot is feasting on this side of the map right now. They're going to have to take a little bit of a pause. There's going to be the engage cavalry charge. Looking for a stun. Going to find it on Layers. Scream has Windfire Wheels. Can take someone up into the air. Layers around half health might be a target if Naja can find the sash. Sot's still around, though, and that apparently is too dangerous of a game to get aggressive. Fine, okay, still gets the blue buff, so he at least defends his side of the map.
Yeah, and that's the win, because when SOT finishes Sovereignty, like before the first blue buff even spawns in, and you're a double fizz solo jungle combo, you're not killing.
I don't know if you're playing through solo lane anymore.
Yeah, I think you give up on the solo lane. You give up on the blue buff invades. You're just trying to confirm your own buffs at that point. It's just not going to be looking too good on the right side of the map for the time being. There is still plenty of room to fight elsewhere, but just trying to kill the Achilles at this time is not going to be easy. So I do understand just at this point, Scream needs to look elsewhere. Paul's always going to be a good option. You know, you get a free ring bounce off the turret whenever he does decide to place that, and you only get one set of beats. The Vulcan should have a fair bit of burst waiting for him at the end of the Windfire Wheels because Pagon's on the Yu Huang. The Dueling Dragons is always going to be a sweet combo. So I do want to see Scream sort of pivot some of that attention. It looks like still sitting around the right side of the map, like hoping that SOT is going to put himself out of position. I just don't think it's going to happen very easily.
Yeah, and honestly, even if he's like out of position, I mean, how out of position can he get, considering his ult can at least give him some of that gap back, not including the stun that he can maybe use for a disengage. A lot of options there for the right side of the map for the Titans. I don't know if we're going to see Daji over there anytime soon. Paolau's back up, and maybe could open up the conversation around a kill, specifically around Finoke. Layers is meandering that direction, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be where he's committing. Instead, turns back towards mid. Pagon's not necessarily an easy target for a Paolau, though, right? You have an ability that gives you immunity built in, and the beads are still up. So difficult target choice, I think, for Layers throughout all of it. In fact, if anything, Finoke is the easiest one just because there's no beads, and you're either going to go ult for ult or you're going to get a pull. So it feels like that's one of the major options for him to try and go for.
Yeah, I think Layers, whenever he gets to be around SOT and get that Sovereignty Aura as well, just feels better fighting on that side of the map. So would not be surprised if we saw even more pressure on there. But, you know, given the fact that Layers loves playing through Paul, loves setting up and trying to facilitate Paul in whatever character he's on, this time the Vulcan, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we did see him just stick around a bit. Maybe like Pagon gets forced out of the Celestial Flight trying to juke some damage, then you're able to get a kill pretty effectively because the Daji definitely likes the Paolau. It's great engage, but it's not 100% necessary to find a kill because she just comes with so much extra damage as well. I mean, there's a ton of DPS on that side, but looks like Scream may be able to find a wraparound. The target was Cyclone, but now Aurora going to be taken out of the sky.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple of hits. You can see 43. It's not the damage numbers from the ult that matter, it's the after the fact. And that aftermath is great for Panda Cat. Him, PBM, and Scream come together, get the kill, and find the first one for the Dragons. But it might not stop there. Ishtar, ooh, stunned out. But luckily Cyclone Spin has a little bit of backup, and it doesn't seem like the Dragons want to go too deep on this just yet.
Yeah, just take the pick and get out at this point because Cyclone Spit is relatively weak. We saw the ult get used a bit ago and is now back off cooldown. Layers made that rotation over as well. Probably a smart call, right? The Windfire Wheels, as you said, was not ticking for too much. It wasn't a very fast kill. It takes a while, and that's the other thing about the Najal that you got to remember is that when you take someone up into the sky like that and they don't die immediately, that's a solid like 5 or 6 seconds you're just waiting around. There's a lot of mobility on the side of the Tartarus Titan, so if they notice Aurora's up, you know, it doesn't take too long for Paul to walk over and have an Earthshaker available, something like that. Cyclone going to trade for Panda Cat's ult and use the beads there.
Yeah, has to play carefully. PBM not able to close the gap just yet to get that grab. Aurora jumps in, but I think more to be annoying than anything. That was actually a very common thing, maybe slight spoilers for something that'll come out in the future. Asking people about Aurora's playstyle in Smite, they described him generally as annoying to play against. It was like just consistently, yeah, I hate playing against him because the way he plays is meant to make you upset. It's meant to stop you from having fun. And of course, that means he does his job incredibly well as a support here for the Titans. I also was going to mention to you, Trelly, how ridiculous this Khepri skin looks. Mike had stolen away the last offering that they needed from the obelisk on the side of the Titans, gets themselves a trebuchet in there in mid. And then that like little scurry that he did as he walked away, like that skin just looked a little more ridiculous doing the Khepri walk away than I think anything else.
I'm just gonna say, you know, like we've been talking about, you have to be picking the Halloween skins. You know, we're in spooky month. It makes sense. Yeah. I'm gonna classify that as a Halloween skin because it is nightmare-inducing.
It is a little unnerving.
Like half bear, half bug is just a terrifying combination. I mean, I don't want to, like, the face is what scares me. I really don't like it.
It really is like it like when I locked in on that and like for some reason I've never played with that skin, but for some reason it was the one that was selected.
Yep.
And it freaked me out, man. Like, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. From behind, it looks great. I mean, look at this. That's beautiful.
It's fantastic.
So if you want to play
design.
as it, it's maybe the best thing in the world, right? Because from your perspective, it looks gorgeous. And from their perspective, it's horrific, and they don't want anything to do with you. And I feel like that might be a buff.
Yeah, or it's a bug.
You're right.
I'm sorry. It's
a feature, not a bug.
All right. Well, either way, it looks like we might see a little bit of aggression towards the intercept. Layers loves trying to grab this for himself and trying to be aggressive on this side of the map whenever can be possible, but not giving this up without a fight. This is the Jade Dragons. They would like to 50-50.
Yeah, Mike looks for the root on the Cyclone spin. At least gets him out of there. Cyclone still no beats for 30 seconds. Could be a window. Screams over here, but not a lot that you can do with it. Layers as well. Not as many opportunities for Layers, right? A lot of CC immunity built into the Dragons, whether it's the beads or ults or otherwise for some of these players. Which means Layers has a lot more work to do if he wants to get anything involved on this map. And it is weird because, like you said, early on, really good double kills, swings over, helps set up SOT for a massive lead in terms of gold at the very beginning. And then it just kind of peters out from there. I mean, they've still got 1,600 gold in their pocket. Experience isn't as far in their favor. But the gold sitting in their side is mostly in solo lane. I mean, look, you've got the full Glad Shield and another Tier 1 for SOT, while FinoK is still working on that second item.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good, and I think that's why finally we're going to see this Pyromancer pulled by SOT. PBM and Pagon on the way over trying to disrupt in any way possible, but FinoK does have a decent wrap around here. It's going to be the burst game in the Titans. I'm able to confirm that one for free. I don't imagine the Jade Dragons look for the fight after the fact. Actually, FinoK could be in trouble.
Yeah, this might be the Titans looking for the fight after the fact. Can the chains connect on anybody important? CC immunity used on the side of the Dragons, and Cyclone Spin over there during his rotation gets caught out by Scream. So the Titans get the Pyro, but lose a member. Might lose two here. SOT pulled back thanks to the Yu Huang. Up into the sky goes the Najah, comes crashing down, back with Layers. Double kill for Scream, and they're looking for a little bit more. Aurora is getting burned through. Panda Cat picks that one up, and in the blink of an eye, the Dragons get 3.
That's me 3 right off the Pyromancer pull very early on. We were asking for the fight through SOT. It showed up, just the Pyromancer pull, and the fight after the fact. Pagon hit a massive ult too. Did a fair bit of damage, but Solo Troll's able to get out scot-free in that chance. But now, because of the sustain from FinoK on this Guan Yu, could just transform into a Gold Fury pull as well. We do see that SOT made his way over to the left side of the map. Might go for a possible steal here, but that's the only chance the Titans have at getting this goal.
He's walking forward. SOT's here. SOT just takes it from him like it's nothing. Goes for the execute, but does not hit where he needs. Needs a little help here if he wants to survive. Killed off for his troubles. Cyclone now might be out of position. Got the mez. Has to dash away. Paul loops around the back. Titans won a little bit more. Double knock up from the Vulcan. And there's Layers coming in. FinoK is the target. No CC immunity. All you need is for these chains to hit. One of them connects, and that's going to pull him in. They get the combo, but no a dash from FinoK. The heal is good, and he is out of there.
I did not expect FinoK to live through that. The second the Palau shot hit, I was sure he was going down. And SOT does steal away that Gold Fury, but also got shut down in the process. Not going to be, you know, something you're too upset about. I think SOT did his job quite well. Walked in, got the gold, died for it, but well worth it in that sense. Looks like Paulie is going to have to use the ult just to split up some of the opposition. Not let the Jade Dragons chase this one too far. Depending on how much farm is got here, this could benefit the Jade Dragons a bit more. Of course, still gold lead in favor of the Tartarus Titans after being able to grab the Pyro and the gold. But it looks like the XP ever climbing towards the Jade Dragons. I mean, when did Layers get 3 levels down? Like, Scream is level 14 to Layers 11 right now.
Man, it has just been good farm for Scream. Not often, by the way, do you get to see the charts look like that, where the gold is on one side, the experience so heavily on the other. But you can see that that gold is not staying on the side of the Titans too much here. The Dragons start to find their way around the map. A little bit of that contributed to that Gold Fury steal. Good on SOT to be able to pick that up. I don't want to say bad on the Titans, but maybe not exactly what they would have liked for the follow-up. Everything after the fact was maybe not as clean as they would have liked. Now we're hitting kind of a reset button if you're watching the Titans here. Not getting super aggressive. Have that, like you said, small, but still gold lead in their favor. and see where they can flex it. You're losing out on experience. You mentioned the 2 levels there in the jungle. About half a level there in mid. Maybe that's something they're going to try to capitalize on here. Pull Scream into the Powwow. The Layers doesn't have any follow-up. One backfire is all they get. A deep shot from Paul's not going to connect onto anybody. Instead, it's Pagon pulling people forward. Aurora, Sot trying to keep this one going, but Aurora is taking so much damage. Nice knock-up from Paul is going to peel for his team. Sot's just trying to live through this one. That Sovereignty putting in as much work as it can to keep him going. That's going to be the Dragons again, looking for the retreat. Nice meatball from Paul, but it's not going to result in anything more. A lot of fight, a lot of punch back and forth. Nothing big to show for it.
Yeah, it was real close, though. I mean, like you said, beautiful knock-up from Paul. SOT and myself both thought that was going to put Scream in the execute threshold, but pretty much the HP he's at right now is about what he was chilling at. It was very close, but not quite in that execute threshold, so didn't quite get the kill onto Scream, and now a bit of a wasted engagement, but I do think the big thing to remember is you got the Aegis down from Scream, which could make killing him in the future quite easy, and you get the beads down from Layers. That was the real prize that the Jade Dragons were after. Once that Windfire Wheels comes back up, Layers is going to have to be, you're either powwowing the Sash, or you're going up and probably dying, because Pagon's got a lot of bursts waiting for when you do land. I expect to see some safe placements from here on out as Aurora continues that annoying play style that we love to see from him, because Pagon doesn't get free farm. No free farm in this lane. Aurora's going to flop on you and burp on you every single time.
Yeah, he's going to make it feel obnoxious, at least slightly, while he can. It's paid off, though, if you want to look at where things are. Again, 15-15 in mid lane, but 12-10, Mike, able to get that second relic way before Aurora, even though he's slightly behind in gold. So that's going to help out the team a little bit. We'll see how much it helps out here. Vulcanult going to help secure the Pyromancer. Close call, as it came down a little early. The Titans are able to scoop that one up. Dragons still dragging in terms of gold. But Experience Trelly has continued to stay in their favor. In fact, might even continue to go so even further. Scream barely able to escape, but escapes with his life from the Tier 1. Panda Cat's getting to Tier 1 and left. And it feels like despite all the work the Titans are putting into this, the Dragons still come out ahead.
I'm amazed that Scream not only lives there, but didn't use the ult to escape. You know, like was just very confident. I guess the situation was, if I'm really in danger, Mike will res me. You know, like I'm saving my ultimate. If I am in danger, Mike's got my back. So wasn't afraid of the follow-up damage there. Tanked that tower up real well. But now it's time for the Primal Fury. Gold, essentially even. In fact, I'm just going to call it pretty much even at this point. The Primal Fury is really going to be when one of these teams starts to pull ahead. I think the Jade Dragons XP is still going to be in their favor quite a bit, so they're definitely favored in a pull onto this Primal Fury. But the confirmation, I mean, between Pagon and Paul definitely has a little bit more burst and can time it all at the same time. If you're using your Dueling Dragon to try and just push the enemies away, you're not thinking about the Primal Fury confirmation, that sort of thing. So ease of confirmation definitely goes over the Tartarus Titans. I imagine some sort of pressure is going to have to be put onto this Vulcan. You cannot let Paul have a free look at the Primal. And if we're honest, you can't let SOT have it either, because he stole away the last one.
And it wasn't even like crazy. He just walked up to him and took it. And now that's what they're trying to do if they're the Dragons. Panda Cat uses his ult to close the gap, go in on Paul, layers up onto the Powwow. Looking for the pull, only gets Scream, barely any health, fine okay. Gets the last hit necessary to get the kill there. 5 Dragons grouped up on the back camps trying to burn through Aurora's health bar. And they've got just enough to get him uncomfortable, force him to fall back. Cyclone Spin though, finished the Wind Demon crit, starting to ring true. Gets a nice little stun there onto Scream and Panda. But not a lot of follow-up. So the Dragons, maybe not the healthiest, but get to walk away, heal up, start sieging towers.
Yeah, they did get Paul's beads down and have plenty of sustain as long as they're all grouped up around fine okay. And it looks like immediately heading on over to left. Scream is still going to steal away some farm on the right side of the map, but should be at least a Primal Fury pull here until they see that maybe SOT stepping out. Maybe they see the rest of the Tartarus Titans are not going to be letting this one go for free. I do like the idea, though, sort of walk towards the Primal Fury, but take a look at Scream. Maybe getting a Tier 1 over and right, taking a ton of farm in the process. It puts the Titans in a position. Pull this right away, or you guys are just getting even more far behind.
Yeah, Paul Does still have ult, could be the secure here. Aurora forced the belly flop away. That's going to be the disengage from the Titans on the Fury. Aurora's low. There's a deep shot once again from Paul. Gets found. Okay, the execute threshold, but there's the block from PBM. And it's enough to keep them going. Palau picked up. And that's going to be a cleanse from Mike, something that is not, honestly, often seen from the Scarab's Blessing, but helpful there. There's going to be Scream into the air with the layers, comes crashing down, has the damage with Pagon, and gets the kill. Good knock up in the back from the Titans onto the Dragons, but it's not enough to keep them going. Instead, Fine-OK loops around, finds a kill, keeps things going. They might lose Scream, but they're going to find even more. That's 3 down on the Titans for just Scream from the Dragons.
And now it looks like, forget the Primal Fury at this point, channel that back immediately. Maybe you're looking towards a Fire Giant this late in. I mean, 20 seconds for layers. You got 30 seconds between Paul and Cyclone Spin. I like the idea. Because Fine-OK is on the right side of the map, and we can see PandaCat is on his way over as well. It does look like a possible Fire Giant pull. It's not going to be easy. There's a ton of CC, and if anyone gets low, SOT should have that execute back up. But at the very least, you've got to be feeling pretty confident in your DPS. PandaCat sitting 3-0 at level 18 Chernobog. He's got Atalanta's Bow and Phalanot. He should be critting pretty hard.
Fire Giant started up. Roar. Halfway to his ult. Only has the belly flop to work with here. Sot in the neighborhood as well. They're going to get aggressive. Stuns are coming through. Knockups coming in. And they're able to find some decent damage. But instead, they're eating more than they're dealing here. The two frontliners for the Titans not able to get much done. Layers has joined the fray. Palau's going to be there. Throwing out some chains. Forces the beads from PandaCat. It's going to pull just Mike for now. Execute threshold. PandaCat has to play this one carefully. Fine-OK. Sorry, Sot has to use his to get away. Layers chases down PandaCat.
They're pulling.
And they're going to start the Fire Giant. Not quite. Paul's here. Has ult. Cyclone. Ready to fight if necessary. They don't seem to feel safe enough doing it. 4 kills total for the Titans. They're picking up some important targets in that fight.
Yeah, I would have been really shocked. That's why I sounded so surprised. It was just clearing a ward at that point, but the Fire Giant was sort of half HP. It looked like Paul's like, wait, I have ult. Should we go for this? And then you look at your only tank, and SOT is not looking too healthy at that point, so probably the call to just pull it off at that point. You did get the shutdown on PandaCat. 3-0, getting a kill is going to get some extra gold in your pocket for sure. And I think, it was just a risky call. Layers was about 15 seconds off pretty much the second they got towards that Fire Giant, and it was a great stall by Aurora and SOT. I think that's exactly what you have to do. Just instead of going for the steal, and instead of just like hiding and going for a last-minute ability, Aurora just immediately goes to the DPS, goes to PandaCat, burps him, tries to slow DPS as quickly as possible, and say, hey, if you guys take enough damage from the Fire Giant, it doesn't even matter if we can't steal. It doesn't matter if we can't fight you. The Fire Giant's going to kill you at that point. So great stall, and the Tartarus Titans are able to grab that Primal Fury in the meantime, which means the Jade Dragons probably going to have to sit back for a bit. I mean, the Pyromancer is certainly something that could be pulled here. I do see a bit of relics down, but all beads are available, and that's going to be the biggest issue for the Jade Dragons. Scream's been able to get into the backline effectively, but getting out is the problem, right? Even when Scream finds an ult, they find a pick off it. He usually puts himself pretty far out of position to confirm that kill. It wasn't a problem at the first Gold Fury because, they just wiped out. Even though they lost Scream, it was a 4v2 at that point. But then instead of just going for the Primal, they backed and went for the Fire Giant. Didn't quite work out. So now, a true 5v5, once again, at the Fire Giant. But PandaCat, using that Chernobog ultimate, is able to split push and drive this tier 2 for free.
This is the glory. I mean, this is what we used to see Chernobog for, right? Was this capability of just showing presence anywhere on the map, being able to get aggressive elsewhere. Pyromancer dropped by the Dragons, picked up by the Titans, and then dropped by the Titans, scooped up by the Dragons. They managed to secure the objective, get themselves a small little lead in that regard, plus the tier 2. And Charlie, for the longest time, we were talking about how the experience was in favor, the experience was in favor of the Dragons, despite the Titans having the gold lead. Now, both are in favor of the Dragons. The experience, though, getting a little outrageous. 7,000, you can see it. For a lot of these, it's 2 levels in mid, 2 levels for the jungler, 2 levels there for support. And so for 2 of these players, anything they've picked up afterward is just the gold, not as much the XP number. Still a lot that's going in their favor. PandaCat just trying to survive, can't catch a break. Beats Aegis used, but the ult from Paul locks him down long enough. Now Mike surrounded by 5. The Titans are just roaming through the jungle for picks And they get 2 of them.
Yeah, they're going to get 2, and now beelining straight for that Fire Giant. Did use Earthshaker, though, so not going to have the greatest confirmation onto this Fire Giant. And take a look where Scream is. Pretty far behind FG at this point. If he just sticks around there, may be able to make a nice play onto the objective. But Pagon is heading over here as well. That's the confirm and the steal attempt that is still sticking around. So if Pagon can't get in, it's all going to be on Scream here, trying to slow the DPS and do the job that Aurora and SOT did just a bit ago.
So there's the ring toss, ult used by Scream to stay alive. Sash should be available. Layers is going to be assaulted by Fine OK. It's the Taolu assault that gets a little bit of burn there. Not a lot afterward. There's going to be an ult from Paul, but it's just off the mark from finding anything big. A lot of low health bars on the Titan. Unfortunately for Scream, he's too low and gets taken down here. Another trade in favor of the Titans. The Fine OK, Panda Cat, Pagon, all here to continue the fight. And the Titans are going to have to drop the Fire Giant. Solar Troll's barely going to escape this one. Great peel from Paul, keeping things going. The Fire Giant's going to get pulled. Pagon's incredibly low. The Titans all have to back, though. A bunch of TKOs in favor of the Dragon. They might just have the burn to do this.
This should be pretty free unless Aurora and SOT can do something about it. Jade Dragons are going down, but looks like Aurora's flopping aggressively.
Aurora comes in. Aurora drops the Intoxicate. Not enough to steal the FG. And they manage to get a little bit of damage out there. Unfortunately, it looks like the front line for the Titans might just be melting here. Taolu Assault stunned out. Slows down the DPS on Sot. Instead, it's Panda Cat. There's the Scarab's Blessing. Keeps him going, but he's so low. Such an easy chase down, and Paul is going to get credit for that one. Ult almost back up for Paul as well. Keeping this engage going could be massive, but Pagon over the wall like it's nothing, and the Aegis keeps things going in his team's favor. Now he just needs a little bit of safety, a little bit of help, and Paul is going to find out why you don't want to mess with him. They get the kill there. Cyclone commits his life for the kill on to Pagon. They lose the Fire Giant. They get decided, and the Dragons still find themselves ahead.
I mean, Pagon goes massive there. Fine, OK, and PBM still do have the Fire Giant buff. Not sure how much you can really get with your Khepri and your Guan Yu hitting away at towers at this point, but it looks like they're going to try. Fine, OK, and PBM running it down right lane, clearing some waves with the Trebuchet. This would be the slowest Tier 2 tower siege I've ever seen, but I am curious to see how it goes. Aurora, smart to just head for Scream in this case. You're going to be able to get the Magi's bubble down at the very least and stop one of your Tier 2s from going down.
Really?
I don't imagine this is going to net too much, but hey, at least the ult was used. Oh, Panda Cat's on the way. Maybe they could try and chase this down.
Yeah, 6-level difference between the two of them. Aurora stunned out. They're going to kill him off. Scream just buying time for the team to get there. Trebuchet on right. They knock down that Tier 2 tower. Guess what happens in mid? They do the exact same thing. Sans Trebuchet knock down that Tier 2.
Is that
Forget
XP
about that experience.
real?
look at the gold. 6,000, 6,500. That's a lot of money. That is in favor of the Dragons.
That is a certain amount of gold for sure, but that is just a ridiculous. I mean, it's so hard for Aurora to exist in these fights now because he's just so far behind. Level 14, doesn't quite have an upgraded starter yet. Yeah. I mean, luckily he didn't have to go for 2 upgraded relics because he's got the blink, but it's just difficult.
4 levels down on Mike. I'm starting to think some of that experience was real. The one thing I do want to see, though, and again, how insane it was, it felt in the moment, Trelly, that Pagon kill, those turnarounds. One over the wall.
Yeah, this one on SOT I think was huge.
And just like it's nothing.
Yeah, hit that, and then he aegis the ult immediately because Paul hits a beautiful ult, jumps over the rest of the damage, one shot on the layers, just clean play from Pagon.
And then it's specifically there as well, right? Going immune, like right as the backfire, would have probably killed you. You can't let this guy have Yu Huang. You can't let him have a lot of things, but Yu Huang, look, 4-1 and 9. What we have seen, and that's not even including the ults this game. Those dueling dragons that have pulled people out of position. Just a phenomenal mid laner.
Yep, no doubt about it. Against another phenomenal mid laner. I mean, Paul has been topping the damage charts as well. It's been a battle of the burst mages in this case, but now the Jade Dragons running down the left side, looking for this left side. Phoenix, Aurora already getting poked down, but I don't think you go in just yet. Trying to split up, maybe look for some initiation. Aurora actually goes back to base, so that could be a pretty good start.
Part of the problem, he's going to be able to get his starter item upgrade, but doesn't give too much of an opening for the Dragons. There's going to be the Sash. No one up in the air just yet for Scream. Has to use the Windfire Wheels to get out. Scarab's Blessing used to keep Fine OK alive. Pow Lao has been burned. And that's 2 ults down on the Titans, 4 down on the Dragons, Mike. Goes forward, tries to find his way for the engage. Intoxicate is good, but Aurora just finds himself out of position, burned down by the Dragons. And now a 4v5. Phoenix acting as a fifth man, see what they can do. Up into the air and crashing down for Pagon just to stay alive, keep things rolling for him. Phoenix is going to be burned away. The Dragons get to turn their onslaught elsewhere. I'm kind of surprised to see them have 5-man focused on the left-hand side. But Trelly, it obviously worked out.
It did work out, and I think that could have been much worse because that fight starts with Final K blink, horsing, immediately canceling, not getting anything really out of it. Paul kills him with the ultimate, but good revive by PBM to keep the Guan Yu alive. And of course, because it's a Guan Yu, just able to heal back up the team, try again. Unfortunate for Aurora. I mean, that was a blink in, engage, and then immediate, just melted. There's just not enough tank items in the world to keep this level 15 Bacchus alive. Did upgrade to Sentinel's Boon, though. Did not quite have it when he blinked in, I'm pretty sure. Just had the 2 health items and a Magi's Blessing. But now we'll be a little bit tankier and have a little bit more sustain next Fire Giant fight, which is certainly going to be an enhanced one. Again, unfortunate for the Tartarus Titans. They don't really have any sort of global presence. Of course, SOT can clear out the fire waves and teleport in, but it's not going to go quick. If you take a look at his build, I mean, a Fire Giant wave is going to take a lot of cycles of abilities to try and clear out here. So the Jade Dragons can certainly split their map pressure because they got that Phoenix down and then go for this EFG. Still, the call's got to be, put some pressure on Nepal. Make sure this Vulcan can't go for a free cast ultimate on our objective. It should be looking just fine. They're going to pull the Pyromancer first and wait for those fire minions to push in. And then I don't imagine the EFG is going to be sitting for much longer.
A lot of EFGs so far today.
That's true.
Honestly, maybe more than we see in a standard week usually. 31:46 on the clock right now. Trying to see where the Dragons are going to go with their engage. Meatball. Just a little shy. Magma Ball. I'll put some respect on it for that one. It's not going to connect. And we'll see where the Titans want to try and engage on this. Fire Giant burned about a fourth of its HP by the Dragons. Scream uses his ult to close the gap, gets on the layers, does a lot of damage. Fine, okay, closes the rest of it. And a nice little chain and disengage from layers. Gets him out of there alive. Has to use the beads, has to use the ult just to keep things going. So Layers in a little bit of trouble. Gets to back and deal with fire minions, though. Helpful to his team. 4v5 around the FG. Like you said, enhanced on top of that screen. Has to be careful here. Great immunity from Sot. Dodges out the dueling dragons, but that's going to be the engage from Panda Cat.
Huge.
Great knock up into a great ult from Paul, but the damage doesn't even matter. Aegis is used, and survivability is the name of the game. The Dragons get to walk away from that one with a kill onto Aurora and right back to the FG.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, sick play by Scream. The ult into the Sash to make sure that Layers not only had to beats, took a ton of damage, then went up into the powwow. Layers is forced back, and now it's a 5v4 situation. The Jade Dragons are not just going to sit by and allow Paul to try and steal that one away, so the aggression comes through. It was a nice flop into the ult from Paul, but, you know, the Aegises and the immunities were used after that. Panda Cat Scream dropped the Aegis, didn't really care, and of course, Pagon has both relics at the moment, so isn't caring too much about that one. Since that left side Phoenix is down, and since Cyclone Spin's doing a purple buff, I imagine the right Phoenix, oh yeah, that's dead. I saw 600 damage auto attack, and I don't think this mid one's going to stay around much longer either.
Yeah, didn't even get to finish like the full thought about how the Phoenix was going to go down because it died that quick. Unfortunately for Sot, he might be in the same area. Has to play this carefully. There's the Talu Assault. Give a little bit of damage. Not enough from Final K to find it. Doesn't really matter. Much like you said, don't have to imagine. That Phoenix goes down in mid. Left is set to respawn soon-ish. We'll see how well the Titans deal with the fire minions, as now they're going to be joined by fire minions on right, and then the second fire minions in mid. Oni Fury's up. Consolation prizes. Not even consolation prizes. Extra prizes. Cherries on top of the cake for the Dragons to be able to pick up. The Oni Fury empowering all three of those fire minion waves. And even then, on top of that, spending all this gold that they're about to back with.
Yeah, and I think that's the disgusting part, because it's going to be upgrade relics, possible 3K pots, I believe, you know, some upgraded, you know, just so much damage being brought in here. I think, yeah, Final K got a potion of power, even more potions of power being purchased for everyone. So not quite the 3K elixir lead just yet, but still crazy amounts of damage coming through. And the Jade Dragons were already looking pretty scary. I think it's about time for for the ambush. You know, we see this in pretty much every SPL game. Once the lead gets a little bit too egregious, it's the let's group up in their jungle, see if someone steps up, and we can get a possible pick. Unfortunately, PBM saw Aurora immediately. Like, there's no way this is going to work anymore. Aurora's been spotted out. No one's going to back up. And look at the Fire Minions. They're already on that Titan.
Yeah, you got to play this carefully if you're the Titans. Or else Winions might just be the name of the game for them. Can they stop the backs here? And honestly, you've got a ring toss. It's going to be great. Layers will make it back to the base.
Teleport
No
and
problem.
Panda Cat's ult.
And that's going to be, yeah, the engage. Cyclone Spin going to be kept right here. Right now, not able to find too much. Aurora able to survive there, and Paul creates some space for his team. Unfortunately, it's not enough. Pagon finds a double like it's nothing. Sot is getting burned down. Panda Cat, credit for that one. And with Fire Minions in mid, Fire Minions on right, and 3 dead for the Titans, the Dragons are going to march in and take game number 1.
I mean, that was just a beautiful dueling Dragons. Picks off Aurora and just one-shot Cyclone. Had the Aegis, no time to use it. That's going to be real clean play from the Jade Dragons. A back and forth game, nonetheless, but once it got to that late game portion, it just seemed like there was no wrong the Jade Dragons could do. They just had an influx of damage, and the Titans were really missing a solid frontliner. I mean, Aurora could not exist in those team fights.
No.
The Bacchus was not tanky enough. SOT did what he could as like the solo tank, but it just wasn't enough.
And Trelly, I've got to ask the question that's on my mind, maybe on a few others. Dragons win game number 1. Every time they've won game 1 so far this phase, game 2 has had a role swap. Do you think we're going to see it?
Look at me.
Look at him.
I don't want to see the Scratless, okay? I don't want to see it. I don't want to see the role swaps. I just want to see normal Jade Dragons play. But if that is what we see, then I guess Gore has cursed us. Thank you for the slow zoom. You know what? I'm just gonna throw us to a break, and let's all just hope that there's no more Scratless. Goodbye.
And welcome back to the SMITE Pro League. Game number 1 of the Tartarus Titans and the Jade Dragons goes over to the Jade Dragons this time around. It started off really strong for the Tartarus Titans, finding 2 picks over in the solo lane very early on to the game. I remember hearing you go, well, that's not the way that the Jade Dragons want to start out, is at least what Hurry was saying to me. And then the game progressed a little bit further on. The Jade Dragons are able to find some picks, get some team fights going through. And then I want to go back to kind of at least the Fire Giant fight that happened a little bit later on in the game. Jade Dragons are able to get 5, and they chase into the kills. And when the Tartarus Titans decided to chase and fight back, I believe the phrase you said was, the Dragons will take that because they had nothing to lose going in that fight.
Yeah, when it comes to those late game post-Fire Giant fights, the team that got Fire Giant is typically at a disadvantage taking a fight, because if the fight goes even both ways, then the team with Fire Giant only has more to lose, because then they don't have those FG buffs looking to siege a little bit later. So I typically am not a big fan of chasing out after you're the ones who already secured the Fire Giant, unless it looks particularly good, but it's just a good rule of thumb to have, and you see SPL teams generally don't do that too often, but I know the Dragons sometimes they get a little overzealous, they get ahead of themselves, and they go for plays like that, so I wasn't a big fan of that, but I am proud of them for coming back after that double kill like you mentioned earlier. You were probably a little bit more PG with than what I said, which was, I think this game is over. I genuinely thought a double kill, clean double kill like that, getting sought ahead early, especially on the Achilles, I thought that was going to be a bit more of an issue for the Dragons, but they fought back well. These Fire Giant fights went their way just about every single time, so they definitely show that they don't lose games just because they have a couple early deaths.
And we get to see at least just what Pagon is capable of on this Yu Huang. Picked up the double kill after that Fire Giant little fight that we were just discussing a little earlier on, and then you can see his confidence to kind of just chase out, throw out those Dragons, find the double kill on the push itself, and then the follow-up afterwards. Pagon on this guy, I mean, we don't see the Yu Huang as often anymore. It was really hot whenever it first kind of came out to the SPL, was getting played game after game, having mixed levels of success. Now we're seeing it kind of sprinkled in a little bit more as we start moving on into the latter part of this phase, and it's still looking just as good as it did on its release. Pagon really putting on a great showcase of what this guy is capable of.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Yu Huang. I always have been. Now, I was a little worried that Yu Huang wasn't the exact mage that maybe you'd want for follow-up under a Nausea ultimate, but he certainly made it work. He's making it look as good as I value it as well, with some just fantastic ultimates throughout the game, just winning his team some team fights, if not just cinching those team fights for his team after they're already won. Just looked fantastic on this pick. I'm happy to see Pagon on Yu Huang any day of the week.
Yeah, a little bit of a slow start for the Yu Huang, but definitely ramped up once we started getting to the late game. We're going to ramp ourselves right into game number 2 now between the Tartarus Titans and the Jade Dragons to see if the Dragons can be the first team to take us to a 2-0 today, or will the Tartarus Titans keep up the same pace as the remainder of our sets that have gone through so far and take us all the way to a 3rd possible game as we jump immediately into the bans. No change-ups as of yet. Hades and Pele, still the same bans from game 1 into game number 2 for the Titans. Yamoja going to be the ban for the Jade Dragons alongside that Kabrakan.
Yeah, no surprise to sticking to the same band so far. Now, the Titans might switch something up. I feel like the Guan was a problem. If I'm the Titans, I just first pick Guan in this scenario. If I'm the Dragons, I foresee that and take away the Guan. I do think the Guan was a big problem. I think I was a little bit underselling how much Alec probably, or FineOK, wanted that Guan Yu. He looked fantastic on it. Basically just auto-winning any team fight that was close for his team. The Titans are perfectly capable of playing it. I don't expect to see them go back towards that Daji. It didn't look particularly great for them last game. Maybe with that Guan ban, that means they will go back to the Daji. I'm glad the Guan is removed, though, because that certainly did seem like an issue for the Titans this last game.
That does leave open the Ymir that was banned away previously for the Tartarus Titans in that spot. And in this 3rd space for the Jade Dragons, it was a Camazotz that got banned away alongside the Yamoja and the Kabrakan, which will still leave a lot of options up and available to it. It really also felt like the Bacchus wasn't getting too much going once we got to the late stages of the game, even with the passive being up at full time, the Chug going through. Just felt like almost any time that Neil Ma tried to make an engagement, it was 1 CC and then pretty much death beyond there.
Yeah, the Bacchus was a bit of a rough pick, I think, in general. You know, with that blink and meditation, he was really having trouble getting things rolling in the team fights. Anytime anything started off like okay, but the Guan would kind of roll in and kind of ruin everyone's day. They basically had to win the team fight in like a burst, and they also had Kepri with a Compassion on the other side that kind of makes that playstyle rough to run. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see them go back to the Bacchus. I'd be surprised if neither team goes back to this Daji as well. The Daji is having a lot of trouble finding her way in, the Nausea catching her out quite often on the sides of the team fights.
Well, the Naja will be removed. Dodgy up, and Dodgy picked.
He's
for
ready
the
to
Tartarus
prove me wrong.
Titans. Wants to try and run it back again. But maybe in this case, if the Jade Dragons don't lock in their mid laner, they don't get, you're probably not going to lock a Vulcan into a Dodgy. No CCME on him makes it pretty rough. But I imagine maybe if the Jade Dragons don't pick up Yu Huang again for Pagon, might be an option for the Titans to either pick themselves or ban that one away when it comes down to it.
True, I very much so think that without that Yu Huang, he has way less good options in terms of playing a mid laner into this Dodgy. Now, he could play something like the Morrigan. He could go back to some things I haven't seen him play in a while, perhaps like the Raw or something else with CC immunity. We'll just have to wait and see to find out. It could be the Yu Huang here. It could be another flex pick. I know the Dragons do like their flex picks. If it is going to be the Ymir, I expect it to be paired with something that will flex somewhere for them. Unless it is the Artie, of course, which we know where that's going, especially if it is picked alongside the Ymir, but we will just have to see. The Artio more than likely is going to solo now that the Ymir is locked in. Really no flexes here. This kind of shows their hand a little bit and what they're doing with the draft. Maybe the Dragons are happy with that. Maybe they felt like they didn't have any flexes they could pick this early, so they just want to hold their picks instead.
And now the question at the end of the day that at least Trelly is hoping is answered no is, will we see the Scratless come out in game number 2? I think I share the same sentiments as you and Trelly, which is it was cool. The first couple of times we saw it was cool. It worked out. And maybe even better news for us is the Titans won't give it an opportunity to happen. The Atlas does get picked up alongside the Volcus to go over for the Titans.
True, and I do like seeing this Atlas in pro play. I was a big believer in this pick myself towards the beginning of the year, and I still certainly think he has a place. He's just pretty consistent in what he does. He has some nice range CC compared to some other Guardians. He has a dash. His ult is very nice to be able to be used for commits on objectives and perhaps shredding down MOO frontliners like Ymir. So I think it's a good pickup here. Going back to the Vulcan as well. Paul definitely looked good on that Vulcan. Not sad about him going back to that. And then Panica, I assume, never know with this team, is probably going to be on this Heimdallr. I'm not too surprised to see him go to the Heimdallr. It's another pick that can deal with this dodgy ultimate a little bit easier. Has CC immunity in his kit. And it is going to turn out that they're going to wait on both their mid, presumably, and their jungle for their last 2 picks. No surprise knowing the Dragons, they do like getting their late counter picks, especially Pagon and especially Scream.
Anyway, we'll have to see what the Jade Dragons do ban away from the Tartarus Titans this time around. With jungle, mid, and support locked in, it'll be ADCs and or solo laners that'd be taken out. Cupid, who made it all the way through game number 1 without even being looked at, will be taken out by the Jade Dragons. Yu Huang, there's the ban right there called for to deal with the Dodgy, or that would have been able to at least deal with the Dodgy with his CC immunity. Not going to be allowed through, and neither will the Morrigan. So a couple mid lane shots over towards the Dragons, a mix of Hunter and Solo, at least by the Jade Dragons to ban that one away from the Tartarus Titans. So now if you're the Dragons, do you go for your jungle pick here? Do you grab something for Scream and then give Pagon the counter pick, or do you give Pagon the pick and maybe give Scream some of the counter option?
Well, in the Titans, we can see both their mid laner and jungler have been selected, so I think both Scream and Pagon have an option of picking here. It really is just kind of up to them who really wants to kind of get to see more of the draft, who wants to see the soul laners and whatnot. They're going to pick set. I can all but guarantee this is a set mid. I was wondering what Pagon was going to be looking for after they banned away the Morgan and the Yu Huang. The set makes sense for what he wants to do, for his type of play style. I'm not sure how it'll sort in with the rest of the comp that Dragons have selected so far, but it does make sense that Pagon had something left in the locker, and that being the set, which I almost forgot about. We do see that go to mid every once in a while. Probably a matchup he likes into Vulcan as well.
Yeah, the set mid is something we've been seeing. We saw it out of the Titans last week. We saw it out of the Valkyries prior in this week and last week. And we've seen it just kind of all in general make its way to multiple different roles. ADC, mid, jungle, solo lane by Final K, but since Artio and Ymir have been locked in as frontliners, unlikely that we'll see the set replace in that regard. So potential final pick, at least for Scream, as we look at the Tartarus Titans needing their Hunter. Still a lot of options available. Ishtar open if they want to go for that one once again for Cyclone Spin. But Osiris is definitely not the one that I was thinking, at least going over towards layers. I mean, how do you feel about Osiris in the kind of current meta right now?
Yeah, I think Osiris is a comfort pick, JMac, for SOT. I do see him go to this pick quite often when it comes to, these late drafts when a lot of the other soul laners are banned away. It's probably a pick that he likes into the enemy front line, into the Artio, into the Ymir. maybe he values the damage mitigation into that enemy team comp potentially as well. Maybe he expects it to be, honestly, my worry for the Titans was pressure in their lanes. I think this Kernanos and Osiris picks together here kind of solve that issue for them a little bit. It's always a cardinal sin, in my opinion. You've heard me probably say it before, that you can't lose all 3 lanes.
Right.
Otherwise, you've got nowhere to sort of channel your aggression. So I think they solved that with those 2 picks. Wow. And then the Dragons, oh boy, Scream's back on the Bastet. We have not seen it in a while. I've got a feeling just from that smile on Panic At's face that Scream is just like, get me the Bastet. I'm feeling it. You know, I'm done messing around. I'm going for the Bastet. And they're all like, okay, like, I'm not sure, man. Whatever, you know. They're up 1-0, so they're probably feeling themselves. A lot of the junglers are banned at this point as well, so he's probably just kind of looking through the assassin tab to see what was left, and he saw Bastet, and he's like, well, you know, everyone made fun of me last time for the Zeus and stuff. I'm going to remind him who's the king. So he picks his Bastet. No surprise there. Ultimately, it is Scream, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does have a pop-off game.
So with this Bastet locked in, likely going to be that set going over in towards the mid lane. Don't see any reason why Pagon would try and take the Bastet away from one of the kings of Bastet, at least to say the very least, for Scream. So with the Jade Dragon's composition, having this RDO and this Ymir as this very staunch front line between them, Set can kind of go in and out of whether he wants to be that full dive towards the back line or kind of wait for that pickoff style. Do the Jade Dragons at least have a decent team fight to fight up into what the Titans have? I mean, you got Pal Lao, you've got Cernos with that Wild Hunt ultimate. Do the Jade Dragons have a comp that can really match that team fight that the Titans have?
The Jade Dragons sort of have a niche comp. They've got to play their flanks. They kind of don't want to play a traditional style. They don't really have that mage damage like the Titans have on the Vulcan on the other side. So they're going to have to play long flanks. They're going to have to play a really brawly, scrappy style of gameplay. They're definitely adept at that style of gameplay. I wouldn't be surprised if they succeed with it. But when it comes to team fights, they got to be all over the place. They got to bait their tanks. They got to flank left with the Bastet. They got to flank right with the Set. Panda Cat's probably going to be on a bit of an island with the Heimdall. I'm sure he's happy to do so on that character. But yeah, the faster the team fight goes, the more scrappy, brawly that team fight is. I think the happier the Dragons are going to be.
So maybe some early game invades, maybe some early game 2v2s to be had over in some of these lanes out there for the Dragons to try and get some advantage over the Tartarus Titans. But as mentioned, Titans have at least some decent tools to try and fight back into it. Pal Lao is going to be good into a couple of these gods, at least for Set and RDO would be a good matchup there. No CC Muni inherently to be pulled in, or at least to avoid being pulled in by that Pal Lao, and then the Osiris, as you mentioned, a comfort pick for SOT. You think he's going to have an okay time over in that lane against the RDO?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in SOT. I've seen him pilot this thing many times. Throwback to me, quarters last year, that guy ran a train on me. So, you know what? I have faith in him. If I didn't, that wouldn't be a good thing. So, back to you.
We will see if SOT and the Tartarus Titans can bring this back and take us to a game number 3, or the Jade Dragons going to find our first 2-0 of the day. Let's throw it over to Gore and Trelly for game 2.
Yeah, let's see what they have to offer us here in game number 2. An exciting game, I'm sure, in store for us. And Trelly, the chat will know before us. But I mentioned to you, what if it was going to be a set mid for Scream? You're shaking your head. I didn't look over, so I'm going to assume that's a no. Yeah,
I had to.
Just because I was like, that would be absolutely ridiculous. No, they're going to give him the Bastet. And well-deserved. For those of you who haven't been watching it for a while, you're either in for a treat, or we're about to learn in a very, very wild fashion why Bastet's not being played by anybody else.
I doubt there's a game where Scream goes like nothing to talk about at the end of this game. You're like, he did fine. He was, no, it's either going to be really hard in one direction or the other. And I just want to say that the Scratless was taken off the board. Like, Aurora picked it second. Yeah. There's a chance that it was still on their mind, but they just couldn't go it because it was grabbed. So thank you guys for hoping with me. I know that all of you in the chat were. But
I'm sorry I tried to curse you.
The Tartarus,
like a plague on the earth.
The Tartarus
and an old pharaoh.
They took it out of my hands, man. They made sure that we just couldn't go for it. So, I mean, I'm glad, at the very least. We don't have to watch that. And we get to see the Scream Bastet, so that's a win in and of itself.
That is a win.
This pick has been, in the back pocket for quite some time.
And you know what? That's actually really interesting. It's funny because when they mentioned it on the desk, we've seen it, we mentioned it. Anytime Scream's been playing, whether he's subbed in for somebody, if it was in the SCC, SPL, whenever, anytime Bastet was picked up, it was a treat. To the point where, if I remember correctly, in Season 7, I want to say Scream was playing Bastet. It was the only person that Bastet was getting banned against. Every game, it was like a necessary ban just to slow it down, things like that. But I also think if you go back even further, it's with a lot of these guys that he made that Bastet as popular or I want to say as infamous as it is.
But a different Bastet.
What is it? Yeah, it was a wildly different Bastet at that point, right? She's gone through like 2 changes, 2 reworks
I mean,
since then?
it started off with like the ult that spawned 3 cats, and then it became when you pop your ult, you can get the double whip and then the double cats and the double jump, which just did so much damage, but also was a little wonky. And now we got the Huntress of Bast, which is one of those abilities that more often than not, I see most junglers miss. I doubt Scream's going to be missing them.
Yeah,
but
this is Scream we're talking about.
Yeah, this is Scream we're talking about. But you can still get value out of the Bastet even if you are missing, which is just ridiculous. She does have a ton of damage, and I think that's the reason that Bastet is even being picked here. If you go something like the Crusher, you're getting lots of brawl in these fights a bit longer. After Paul just uses that backfire, pretty easy for a Kingslayer to run you down if you're hitting all of those set clones with the skewer. So would not be surprised if Pagon tried to get aggressive in the mid lane in the next 2 minutes or so. Paul can't beat the slows either. He beats her down for 2 minutes, which also means that Scream could go mid lane. It's just going to be a rough time. When you're up against double assassin, I don't envy the position of a mage just trying to stack a warlocks.
No, you can. This is 100% on me. I typed it into my spreadsheet, still did not register fully. Osiris in the solo lane. Something that we haven't seen a whole lot of. I mean, we even started this day with a Matarasu over there. Some of these auto attackers that have been devoid, which maybe we'll have to hold that thought for a moment. No, great wall from Mike. Should keep him safe. We'll see the CC is really good from Aurora. They're trying to find the last couple of hits, but body blocks are good from Panda Cat. Jukes are great from Mike, and he gets out of there instead. Panda Cat might even be able to turn this around. Bifrost forward. 1 more auto's all it takes. They get 1 right there. And with Pagon rotating in, it's a double kill for Panda Cat and a cleanup in the duo lane.
I mean, that could not have gone better. That's twice now where Aurora, I feel, was robbed from a kill. I mean, so much damage coming up, but great body blocks from Panda Cat. You know, most ADCs that I know would just give that one away. You know, they would just let their support die and say, you know, I don't want to put my life in danger. But Mike, instead of going towards the tower, run towards the lane. Panda Cat just hitting all of his auto attacks, teleporting in aggressively, and Pagon Kingslayer for the movement speed and runs all the way over to duo to help out his duo lane. 0-3 start. The Jade Dragons are up about 1K gold.
I mean, that was like, you know, Mom told me to defrost the chicken. I didn't do it. I need to start moving levels of speed from Pagon.
Oh, yeah.
Making sure things keep going. What a great start for the Dragons over in the duo lane. And in mid, I mean, for Pagon to have a kill, now an assist as well, and throw 2 kills onto Panda Cat has to feel really solid. And last time we were talking about playing out of the solo lane. I'm still going to go back to the solo lane because I wanted to ask about these auto attack warriors we're seeing, the Amaterasu earlier. The Osiris now. You had mentioned the death toll, but where does he come into the equation? Does he work with some of these more like modernized builds? Is he still fine to play?
I think he's fine, and that's a good way to describe him. I think fine
Would you say he's okay?
Is the best. Well, no, that would be like an RDO.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
fine, okay.
Yeah.
But like, I would say he's kind of troll. I'm sorry.
Just a little troll.
Yeah, just a little. But
wait, fine, okay. I'm sorry. Now I'm lost.
No, I'm saying the Osiris pick. You know, there's a reason that these auto attack warriors aren't being played. They get their value in the CC. Osiris is going to be really difficult to kill, but you're not out pressuring an RDO. Like there's just no way Final K ever has to worry about the Osiris. But you're also not picking that Osiris to bully in lane anymore. You used to, but now Conduit Gem. You know, and Manticore Spikes abusers, those are the ones who are doing real well in lane. At the moment, I think you're picking to run at the carries. But unfortunately, you're running at a Sat who doesn't really care about your slows. I mean, Panda Cat's going to teleport away. I don't envy the position that SOT is in to try and get aggressive on this Osiris, but he has had some iconic Osiris performances, so I think this was just more of a game 2 comfort pick trying to get ahead.
I was going to mention the same thing, playing for the Scarabs on this Osiris at Worlds. Against the Titans, actually. Maybe left a lasting impression for him there. Helped get a win against the Dragons at that period of time. Scream's going deep for a kill, by the way. Takes a tier 2 tower shot,
Final K's gonna
but
tank.
kills off Layers. Final K's got to tank this one. You need a little bit of help. Does he have the leap? There's going to be a root. Not enough.
Can't tank it for that long.
Yeah, Final K leaves him out to dry a little bit, but Scream's the one who went that deep to begin with. Either way, it's a beautiful, beautiful look for the Dragons. You get 3 people on right. And what does that open up? That's right, a Gold Fury on left. A great pull for the Dragons. And they're going to be able to secure it. Mike was getting low. We could see Cyclone Spin making that rotation over, but they're going to be able to get First Blood. Double kill in the duo lane. Extra kill, admittedly 1-for-1 trade over in solo. And a Gold Fury to boot to give them a nice, comfy 2,000, almost actually 3,000 gold lead.
It just ticked over to 3K. So yeah, there's a ton of gold in favor early on, and that's before Pyromancer even spawns in gore. Like there's not even a second objective.
It's so early.
That's why Mike almost died to that gold for him, because they pulled it before double-digit levels have even been hit by anyone in this game. Pagon pops the Kingslayer, but does it more so just to get some damage. I don't think Layers is going to be too in trouble underneath that tier 1 tower. A ton of damage coming out, but that's the aggression that the Jade Dragons are coming to at this point. They want to make sure that not even for a second is there safety. They're fighting in mid. Hey, let's run over to check on Cyclone Spin. Maybe we can fight over there in duo as well.
There's going to be the Huntress of Bast, picks up, burns the beads. Nice wall from Mike, and the freeze, and the slow. They don't have enough to chase down Cyclone Spin. Layers stops his rotation in its tracks. And the Dragons are just going to fall back for the Interceptor. Trelly, a lot of pressure on the duo side of the map for the Dragons, and it's been working out for them. I mean, that didn't necessarily result in a kill, but with the way they have been able to control objectives, 7.5-minute Gold Fury, which is maybe one of the earliest ones we've seen. Definitely this phase, maybe this year in general. That's a big win for them. Playing the style that they like to play, right? Aggressive, fast, in your face. We'll see if they can keep that up. The Atlas, it feels like, can slow things down. I mean, Paul has definitely had some really great moments on this Vulcan. But also the Kernanos, the Osiris, like there's some things we've been seeing slightly more of in the Kernanos and not at all in the Osiris that are definitely going to keep it spicy as the game goes on.
Yeah, I definitely think a little bit of spice is going to help out, you know, the pacing of this game. Because
and that's just like that's good advice for everything. A little bit of spice helps out a ton, especially in cooking, maybe even in the duo lane. Pagon with a rotation, knock up, not quite enough, but it doesn't matter. Skewer exists.
What was that? Some paprika, some basil? What kind of spice was that?
That's a little bit of onion powder,
okay.
I think, over there.
All right, not too much just yet, but that's a tier 1 tower, and it looks like the Jade Dragons. I mean, this is exactly what I expected, of course. Just coming out swinging, doing as much damage as possible, not letting the Tartarus Titans breathe. You're not going to let just sit back and recollect your thoughts, figure out where you want to get aggressive, where you can farm, where you can team up for. The comms are going to be cluttered because, wait, I just saw Scream and left. Wait, Pagon's ganking me now in duo. The tower's gone. It's not going to be easy. And now PBM could be in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, he's going to eat a lot of ults. Jeez, I don't know if he needed that much to kill the Mimir, but they're able to find it. Paul, credit for that one. The tail end of the ult. Great chain forces the Huntress of Bast to get the CC immunity there for Scream. Scream has to play safe. Final K's in trouble coming in. Doesn't matter. You got Pagon here. The damage is good. Scream. Credit for a kill onto Layers. They trade 1-for-1 jungle for support. Final K doesn't seem to want to stop. Neither does Pagon. They're going to keep going. Aurora has no mana to work with. The damage is there, but the Bastet has to play cautiously. A little bit of damage. The Skewer just off the mark. Aurora slips through the Dragon's hands just barely. You have to say,
oh, come on.
If it had happened,
look at him laughing. I knew he was going to go for it. I was like, the set clones are so difficult to try and control.
Who do you think was yelling at him not to? Who do you think was the one who pulled the reins on Pagon to make sure he didn't like teleport under the tower?
That's a good question because I feel like all of the Jade Dragons have a little bit of troll in them, so I don't know who would be like. It had to have been Mike, I guess, in that situation, but even Mike trolls a bit too, so it's just like, let's just go for Pyro. It's a safe goal. And then Pagon's like, all right, because like he wanted to.
Scream had a very like tired, done with this face. might have been from the back. Like, look at him.
That's true. Yeah.
He's definitely not vibing with the troll feels right now.
I bet
until that smile comes back, we don't know.
I bet his face didn't even move. He's like, just don't, bro. Just go for pyro. You know, when your face doesn't even move, you're so done with it. It's like, can we just wrap this one up? We want to close this out. Quick 2-0. We're up by 6,000 gold at 11 minutes. Let's not give a shutdown kill underneath this tower. Probably a good call. And it is not looking easy for the Tartarus Titans to try and seek some form of comeback, because anytime they try to step up anywhere, it's just met with a ton of CC and aggression from the Jade Dragon. Cyclone Spin has been at his tier 2 tower. When he gets blessed with a wave, that's the only time we even get to see him like auto attack. Besides that, he just sits back, afraid of getting ganked on. And now Aurora may be in some trouble. Hunches a Bast off the mark. And that should be the end of the aggression.
Wanted to see if Paul maybe was willing to keep something going for him. Aurora, like you said, if he's going to fall back, then you don't really have any setup. Nothing necessary for you. Layers, quiet game. 0-3-1. Hasn't seen a lot of them. Just saw him backing there. Powwow has not been as helpful as it could have been. I mean, who are you going to go for? The Artio, who's a tank, the Mimir, who's a tank, or the two with beads, the one with CC immunity, if the beads are not there as well for Scream. A lot of things to play against Layers there. In an unfortunate scenario, Roar actually might get caught out here. Has to use the dash. Almost a fantastic wall from Mike there. Just short of being able to block off the path. Panda Cat apparently did not get any memos about letting Cyclone Spin just exist in this lane. Has already taken the tier 1, takes Cyclone down to half health. And FinoK's rotated onto this side of the map as well. They want kills, they want blood. Like you said, you got a 6,000 gold lead. You got to work with it while you can. Scream in mid, onto Paul. Jumps in, one more auto's all it takes. They won't find that. And a little pullback from Aurora keeps Paul alive slightly longer than he would have lived otherwise. FinoK, Mike fall back. And the mid laner for the Titans in the gray screen.
Yeah, it looked like FinoK was rotating over for the Primal Fury, but now it's just going to be a mid-tier 1 tower. Aurora, beautiful wall. He's going to give the kill over to Pandacot, as behind Pagon is going to be Layers. Actually takes a fair bit of damage, pops the Kingslayer. I don't think you're living through this one.
Now Cyclone Spin's there as well. They want blood, and there's your shutdown kill. Only 2, 1, and 3, maybe not massive, but the gold is going to be nice. Well, you would think. It's not going to do too much in that graph at all. I can't even see the blip that was Pagon's death. So pure control. There's a Fury up on the left-hand side with FinoK making a massive rotation. Maybe would have thought something about that. But 13 minutes in, now 7,000, almost 8,000 gold in favor of the Dragons. I mean, look, sometimes we talk about them just running it down. This feels like just one of those moments where they're just running it down.
I mean, Pandacat, like, ulting to close gap on Cyclone Spin and left lane, not a fear in the world. PBM diving the tier 1 just to confirm these kills onto Aurora and company. It's just not looking too easy again. But the Primal Fury could be an avenue back into this game for the Tartarus Titans. They still do have really solid bursts. Paul, 2-1 at the moment on the Vulcan, has enough damage to make his presence known. You know, you can't just dive him. You do have to put a little bit of respect on the DPS that Paul has. And also, Layers came up from behind Pagon there and half-healthed him real quick with the auto attack cancel. So there still is a bit of DPS that I think the Jade Dragons have to put some respect on when they're not grouped up. But that Primal Fury is going to be started up. And unless an ultimate from Aurora comes from downtown, it's not even available. This is going to be deleted so fast. The Jade Dragons playing, I mean, with house money at this point. They're too big to fall until this Fire Giant comes up.
Yeah, those numbers you see, 70 or 67, almost swapped them. 6,700 experience, 8,400 gold. Well, the gold is always going to be real, but the experience is true experience, right? Every single player on the Dragons is feeling 3 levels there in the support role, which is maybe the most important. Shell just now picked up and upgraded by Mike. Aurora's not even thinking about a second relic for a little while. In fact, he might not be thinking about too much, depends on the aggression from the Dragons. As of now, solo or troll. I mean, every step you take has to be careful. And it's wild that Cyclone's just trying to farm in his lane and Pandacat won't let him have it. Cannot be caught alone in any moment like this. The Dragons starting to fight over on the right-hand side as well. Huntress Abbas picks up a roar. Pulls them slightly forward. Sot joining the fight, but Sot taking way too much damage here. Chains gonna come down from the Powwow for Layers. Pulls in none. Gets a little bit of damage onto Pagon. Forces the beads from a couple. They still lose 1-0 so far, and the Dragons still looking for the fight.
Yeah, it looks like they're wanting to get aggressive around this Pyromancer. Aurora getting poked down real low. Scream going to jump in and confirm that one. But now it looks like still trying to chase this down. Layers in the back line.
Yeah, walks in on his own. Panda Cat punishes that one. Makes sure it sits down. 3 kills out of nowhere for the Dragons. Manufactured for them. And it ends up working incredibly well. Plus, they get the Pyro. And what a wall! Are you kidding me? From Mike just to lock up Paul. And keep things going all the way. Jazzberry jammed 100% of the game so far.
And now it's going to be the old 16-minute Fire Giant Gore. I know you've seen this one plenty of times before. Let's see if Cyclone Spin can make any sort of difference at this objective. Since Scream is zoning and SOT's on the way, it's going to be a toss-up.
I mean, at this point, it's worthwhile going for it. It's not going to work out, though. Cyclone, I don't even see what happened to him. He's gone. And Sot just trying to stay alive. Have to hope that wall's not coming up anytime soon. Great pull by Aurora. To keep it slow, and then you get CC'd anyway.
Slow.
Oh, man, you
dead.
cannot catch a break if you're a Tartarus Titan here. 14 kills to 3, and we are talking 12,000, 13,000 gold, 17 minutes into the game, tier 2 in mid gone, and the team is just on a rampage.
Yeah, that is just real difficult to come back from. Honestly, I mean, look how hyped Mike's getting. That's what I love to see. They're not letting this go to their heads. They're making sure that the comms are nice and hyped up. And Panda Cat actually literally on a rampage. This man's 5-0-3 at the moment. Not going to let anything slow him down. Grouping up on the left side of the map, they've got this Fire Giant for 3 minutes. What kind of damage can they do in that time? Something to note about early Fire Giants. You'd think like, oh, we're so far ahead, we can just break the base open. Phoenix does not care if you're 8,000 gold ahead. Phoenix is still going to chunk you.
It's still Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix is still going to chunk you. So I would not be surprised if we see tier 2 towers and that's it. It's still very difficult without an abundance of tank stats to tank up these objectives. And there's plenty of clear on the side of the Tartarus Titan. Cyclone and Paul, SOT as well, and Aurora, all of them have great wave clear on the Phoenix. So turtling, certainly a viable strategy here for the Tartarus Titans. It's not going to be an open and shut case. This base gets broken and you're losing the game before 20 minutes. It's never that simple.
Now we need, and Rach, or I guess Ovrin, actually. This is who that one's more targeted at. For brand management, things like that. Oh, no, wait.
Mike,
for brand management
Mike,
right
no.
now, Mike just needs to stay alive. Shards of Ice going to go through. He's not tanking
Wait,
in his
what?
build, but he gets a 4-man freeze. Are you kidding me? Look at how much time, how much space he's creating. They get the Phoenix in the left lane. Now they're going for mid like it's nothing. They still got Fire Giant. The Titans are lucky that the Dragons didn't end the game right there. Mike loses his own life for 2 Phoenixes.
Oh no, now they're going to get him back. This one's for Mike. Wait for
no.
Aurora to walk up. Come on, someone step up.
It's going to be Layers. They're going to grab Layers. You came to the wrong jungle, man. They pick you up, and now it's the chase down. Huntress of Bast onto Aurora, and another clean kill for the Dragons. The question, Trelly, like you said, 19 minutes. Do they have the damage? Do they have the items to go for the Titan? No minions that are working with them, but they think they have what it takes. Slowly but surely whittling it down, maybe looking for more kills than necessary. Fine, okay. Knocked back. Pagon goes in deep. Pagon's got the damage, but the skewer just off the mark. Not going to be able to find a lot onto Solo or Troll. Paul gets a kill. On to Final K. Scream leaps into the fountain of all places. Pays for it with his life. The Titans are looking to mount a defense here. Panda Cat trying to keep that goose egg in the death column. Might just eat one here for his team's over-aggression. And the Titans find a defense.
I mean, this is what I'm talking about. It's just real difficult to tank up the Phoenix as well as the Titan when there's no minions. Final K just could not keep that one alive for long enough. That is going to be a fair bit of shutdowns. Don't get me wrong. It's still 12,000 gold in favor for the Jade Dragons, but you know, that was a good defense. It was a solid defense for the Tartarus Titans. They should be able to grab an Oni Fury. Now they may try and set up another ambush onto PBM, but I don't think it looks like he's going to fall for this one. Once that Oni Fury goes down, it's only 2 Phoenixes. 3, and it starts to get real scary. But it's only 2.
It's only 2.
And you got a Vulcan turret, so let's just say it's 1. You know, you just put the Vulcan turret down, it's essentially a Phoenix.
Yeah, honestly, I can't even tell the difference if I look at them.
They look real similar.
So similar.
And the damage output's got to be similar, right?
I do. I want to go back to a point that you made.
Okay.
Which was that you said turtling a legitimate strategy here. And I feel like we should make that a shirt to sell in the shop. It's just a picture of a turtle. It's a legitimate strategy.
Yeah, and then or it could be just the shell, and your head is the turtle. You know, like
oh yeah, like you're wearing like a
like you are the turtle.
Okay.
Like the shell is the
Where
shirt.
do the words go there?
Well, like underneath.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Or
I wanted to pick your brain.
I don't know. Maybe the shell could go on the back. You know.
That wouldn't be a bad design.
And then the front could say it's a legitimate strategy.
The idea's out there. Avrin can take this, give it to someone, or maybe she has the wherewithal to know. But someone more clever than me with clothing design can definitely take that and turn it into something probably palatable.
Yeah, and then we'll take like what? I get 5%, you get 4%.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, well,
it was mostly your idea. I'll take that. That's fair enough to me.
Yeah, we'll have to do something.
The Dragons want. Well, actually, rephrase that. The Titans want 5% of just anything at this point. They could get their hands on something this game. I'm sure they'd feel a lot happier. Remember, it was a 5-man kill on Mike, loses them 2 Phoenix and half a Titan. That thing's not going to be respawning anytime soon. They're grouping up one more time.
Yeah, what's the play here? Just let Fire Giant come through and fight them after they get it? I guess that's the call. Everyone's going to walk in.
Someone's going to go for a zone, and that's the guy. He's just going to die.
Okay, but we saw how that went last time, and now Mike has Magi's Shelter, which I think makes it a lot harder to kill him, and it still wasn't like that clean. And someone has to defend Fire Minions. Both Phoenixes are coming up. I mean, I like the idea. I just imagine, you know, if you are going to, like, set up an ambush, it should be a little bit further because you're just giving them the free fire then fighting after. Now Paul's gone and Layer's gone. It looks like that's the end of the ambush strategy. So you try, like you said, try and get any little bit of farm you can because it's not going to be easy. Paul's still top damage in the game, though. That is something to highlight. He's still doing more than everyone else despite that. And he's 4-2, level 19. Hold up. That's a lot of damage. They could play off of Paul.
Paul looks after number 1, all right? He keeps himself going. And look, 4-2-2. Like you said, honestly, it's not something to scoff about. If you get one really good Vulcan ult, we've seen plenty of games, specifically from the Titans, where they have had their backs against the walls and been able to find something that has opened up the game. 4 towers standing for the Dragons. Might make that a little more difficult. Left side, mid Phoenix as well. Respawned here for the Titans. We'll see what this Fire Giant's going to be able to do. Trelly, one of the few not enhanced Fire Giants I feel like we've seen so far today. And so they have to wait for this the old-fashioned way. You need some minions, you need a little bit of help, but with everyone distracted on the right-hand side, there's a sneaky Fire Minion wave over there on left. Gonna get something done for the team.
Yeah, I'm thinking that Burden left is just gonna be given up and fight over everything else in the meantime.
Oh,
Scream
man.
jumping on the Layers, and when he comes down, he's gonna be in some trouble.
Yeah, that damage, you do not have a lot to work with for Layers. Does manage to stay alive so far. It looks like he's gonna be out of there. Scream looking for a little bit more Fire Minions on left, doing their work. Scream's gonna add on to that one. At least get one of these Phoenixes back for the Dragons. Titans mounting a defense. Seems like that's going to be enough. Layers. I cannot believe he lived through that one. It's just the call of whether you want more blood, more structures. The Dragons go for the structures now. Trying to figure out how to close the gap on mid. Screams on left. Final K's on right, and they're looking to close someone in here. Final K's going to tank up the Phoenix. Panda Cat's going to throw out the autos. They burn that one down, no problem. Double stun onto Aurora and Sot. There's going to be a nice Atlas ult thrown down. Paul's taking a lot of damage in the meantime, running away from the base, just creating some space. He knows he's going to die. It's just where will it be? It's by the green buff. Now, Dragons resurge, 4 men strong on the Titans. Question is, how much defense can you mount? You had only a few last time around. The Dragons are stronger this time. Titan gonna take a little bit here. Cyclone's been in trouble in the back. Pagon looking for more, and he's gonna find it. Sot now left to the Sharks. They're gonna surround him and rip him apart. Layers inside the base, goes for the powwow, looking for a pull. A roar gets burned down. Scream pulled in. The Titan doing its work will help get one, but that is going to be it for the Titans. A 2-0 win, and the Dragons take the set.
I mean, the Jade Dragons playing a really clean game of Smite in that one. From minute 1, just coming out swinging. I mean, what was it, like a 6K gold before 10 minutes, before Pyromancer even spawned in? And that is not easy to do. I mean, you have to be power farming. Yeah. You have to find a ton of kills, a ton of aggression. And it just seemed like they had the formula down for this one. We saw Scream tweet out last night. He's done messing around. He pulled out the Bastet. And I think all of the Jade Dragons are done messing around.
And so wild to see. I mean, to get that much of a lead that quickly is just impressive. Again, a very early Gold Fury, like you highlighted, all before Pyromancer. And then it just rolled even further in their favor. What a wild ride. It was a fun one to watch nonetheless. The Dragons win here 2-0, but you don't got to listen to us anymore. We're going to go to the desk and break it down.
It down that game. Everyone gives them, crap for that's the only way they can play, but it is definitely one of their strengths, and they definitely showed it here in this game too. Just a dominant performance, from minute 1 to minute done. It was very quick, very easy. It didn't really look like they broke much of a sweat. I was honestly more worried that they might start trolling really hard, and it was going to take longer than it needed to take, which would be the case in a scrim. Fortunately, didn't translate to today on game day. The Dragons fans needed this. The Dragons needed this. They just need to show, hey, that was just a hiccup the other day. We're still fully capable of being the best team in the league. They certainly looked like it in this game too here, J-Mac.
Yeah, it was something that was kind of talked about on the waiting room before. Is like, do you even want a team to really go undefeated for this long of a streak, go all the way through phase without getting it all the way up until a playoff? But the good news is the Jade Dragons do bring it back. They do find this victory, and we got Trelly and Panda Cat staying by for a post-game interview.
It's over here. We got Panda Cat, the ADC for the Jade Dragons, looking real clean after a bit of a stomp in game number 2. I mean, after the loss yesterday, we saw Scream go to Twitter, tweet that he's done messing around. Do you buy that? Do you think he really is done messing around?
No, he needed to tweet it for his own ego. Because if we said he was messing around, then it hurts his ego. So he says he's not messing around, but he's always messing around.
Okay, so still expect some shenanigans out of the jungle, but I think you guys will always be there to keep him in shape. You and Mike have been looking real clean in the early. I want to talk a little bit about the Interceptor. How come the ADCs aren't taking it? You guys get a little bit more extra damage. How come you're letting all these supports have the extra ego, think that they need the more damage?
I just don't think we utilize the passive as well. Mostly the HP 5 is actually the big deal, because the supports right now are kind of brawling it out and losing a lot of their pots. So if they get the Scepter, they kind of have like an infinite health glitch. So that's why. Otherwise, I actually think I would take it. But I think it's just really good for them because they just roam and then they get all the HP 5 and stuff and a little bit more help on the camps. So.
All right, fair point. It's going to be some good stuff. Now, again, you guys took a little bit of a loss yesterday, but still looked super clean today. Was that a bit of a hiccup, and you guys think you're ready now? Was it a bit of the role swapping, or you don't want to go too much into the strategy of it all?
I'll call yesterday a fluke, respectfully to the Warriors. But yeah, I mean, you take a little loss. I think everyone kind of woke up and stopped messing. Okay, I'm going to use the term. Stop messing around. I think we did get a little bit too comfortable yesterday. I mean, we're getting really comfortable in all these games where we're kind of just joking around.
Right.
And not taking it like an SPL game. Like, we're just, like, diving there tight in the last game and stuff and just having fun. But I think it was good. The loss yesterday, like, helped us reel in a little bit and, like, just focus up a little more. And, yeah, I think we're just looking forward to maybe starting a new win streak.
All right, sounds like a plan. The Jade Dragons feeling confident. Panda Cat looking confident as ever. Let's throw it back onto the desk.
Yeah, thank you so much, Charlie and Pennicap, for the post-game interview. No longer messing around with the Dragons, though they're still messing around just a little bit. Hurry win. Not all serious, but also not all fun to be had. But I think it's important to have that nice balance of fun, that nice balance of serious when it comes to these games, because you don't want to take everything too seriously. Yes, you're playing for, obviously, seeding to get yourself towards Worlds, so this is a very important phase. But you got to have at least a little bit of fun doing it. Pendicat and PBM over in the dual lane, definitely making that one work out for themselves. And the fact that, watching back this highlight, that Pendicat was basically body blocking for his support in this case, always a bit of fun to be had there. But Jade Dragons really coming back in game number 2 after kind of a back and forth game number 1. I think Panda's right in getting that loss yesterday really helped them kind of get that reset to get themselves back in the groove for these next sets.
No, certainly, and they definitely have shown that they're back in the groove, if not just right away, just maybe a few quick talks, revisiting of the drafts, come back to what they're good at, what they know they can win on, with a few comfort picks or maybe a few little niche picks like the throwback to Scream's best stat. For the most part, everything kind of came back down to earth today, and I think that shows with how they played. They are messing around, but I mean, even through these highlights, you can tell just fantastic mechanical ability, as you can expect from most of the Dragons. We watched this clip of Max or Panda Cat, and he doesn't miss an auto attack. Like you can say he's messing around, but ultimately they are locked in on game day. They are getting these wins. You know, maybe a slight troll here, walking into the well a bit, at least a little bit earlier in this game. Definitely at least having some fun with it. Like you said, a good balance is probably necessary, as long as they're still getting the wins, you know.
And in this case, they are getting the wins. 5-1 for both Pagon and Panda Cat, 5-3 for Scream. PVM even having a few kills of his own there, 4-2, and then the 2-1 on Fine OK. So everybody getting to get their hands in the kill department, at least for a little bit there. Pagon, Panda Cat topping the damage charts for their team at the end of the game, 23K respectively for both of those ones out there. And a nice win for the Jade Dragons, a nice 2-0 to kind of bring themselves back after the 2-1 loss to the Oni Warriors just the day prior. Definitely going to be a nice little boost up for the Jade Dragons and their fans to give them the reminder, yeah, we may have had a little bit of a shake-up yesterday, but don't worry, we are still here. We are still this dominant team that you guys remembered from the end of Phase 2, still that dominant team that you guys remember from Masters, and even from that very first week of SPL.
Something that I love about the Dragons, J-Mac, and that I hope to continue to see going forward is Pagon just switching to these assassin mids every once in a while as well. He was definitely a big part of this this stomp, for lack of a better term, in this game too against the Titans. Just that he's just very mobile on the map. He's solo, then he's duo, he's solo, then he's duo.
Right.
You know, he's making plays in mid, he's making plays all over the map. Paul certainly no slouch on the Vulcan, had some great ultimates, had a good slash line at the end of the game, but Pagon's everywhere, man. And that's a strength of those assassins in mid when you're comfortable on them. They're definitely at home in mid when it's in Pagon's hands, so I'd love to see more of that. Maybe not be their only identity, but always be something that they can switch to if they feel they need it.
Yeah, always have something kind of in the back pocket for a lot of these teams out there. So the Jade Dragons find their 2-0. We'll take a look at the schedule to see what you've missed this week, because that is now the end of week number 2. A quick roundup of all of our matchups. Valkyries over the Bolts 2-0. Kings 2-0 over the Scarabs. That was on Friday. Saturday brought us a 2-0 for the Titans over the Valkyries. The Warriors got a 2-1 over the Dragons. Now starting out our day today, we had the Bolts and the Leviathans. That was a 2-1 for the Levi's. The Kings found themselves a 2-1 over the Oni Warriors. And then to close the day out, the Jade Dragons find our only 2-0 win of at least Sunday. That one over the Tartarus Titans. And we can take a look at the standings to see how much that affects it now. And it should be the Jade Dragons with their 4th game now under their belts, if I'm not mistaken, in that regard. Now actually puts themselves just slightly ahead of the Camelot Kings in that first seed, only because of the head-to-head matchup that they do have with the Camelot Kings for now. Still plenty of teams fighting up for that top spot. Oni Warriors in the number 3, Atlantis Leviathans hot on their heels right behind Tartarus Titans, and maybe in one of the rarest sights that we have actually seen so far in at least franchise history for the Valhalla Valkyries, even if it is still just a 1-2. Valkyries have made their way to the 6th seed. We can take a look now, though, at week number 3 of Phase 3 of the SPL. That'll start with the Valkyries and the Warriors, Leviathans and Scarabs on Friday. Saturday we'll bring the Valkyries and the Dragons, then the Titans and the Kings. And then for our triple header Sunday, Olympus Bolts, Jade Dragons, Scarabs, Warriors, and Leviathans Kings. Great matchups across the board on every single one of those days. Sunday, definitely a jam-packed one between the Bolts Dragons and the Leviathans Kings. I think the Olympus Bolts having that be their only matchup of the week, and the fact that right now they're struggling down at 7th seed, which is a wild place to be talking about the Olympus Bolts to be down at 7th seed. They're going to want to come into this matchup against the Jade Dragons as hot as they can to try and bring themselves back up the standings.
Yeah, they've got a lot to prove, and the Dragons, I think, proved what they need to prove here today, but I think the Bolts will be a nice benchmark for them about halfway through the set of games here, dealing with everyone so far in a round robin through the beginning of this final phase. I think that the Bolts are certainly on a downtrend, as you mentioned. They're working their way through kind of a tough phase right now. They have a new solo laner that was kind of forced upon them. Baskin still getting back in his groove. Ultimately, I still think the Bolts have it in them. We'll see exactly how much of that they have in them. And, I mean, these teams know it. I know it. We all know it. The big time to shine is at the end of the year with Worlds. That doesn't mean these games don't matter. They certainly do. The seeding is very important, but ultimately they can hang their hats knowing that their best self is coming at the end of the year, and they can be, you know, a contender at Worlds, and I still think they can be.
Well, that's it for the second week of phase number 3. There's still plenty more action for that to go. And if you want to see more SMITE esports action, make sure you stick around after the broadcast. We're going to have some of our SOC matches taking place with our amateur community team taking over on the broadcast for there. But as for the SPL, that's it for me, myself, Hurry Win, from all the other casters and production behind the scenes. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in week number 3.